UFC 319, Dricus du Plessis versus Khamzat Chimaev. This is the full card predictions. We're going to go through each fight one by one, give you guys my analysis, break them down, give you my picks. I'm super excited for this card. We got another pay-per-view. Last week, the card was The week before that, the card was a little better, but this card has a lot of implications on it throughout the entire fight card, and I am super excited to break this down for you guys. Let's not get any further. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe, and let's get it rolling with the very first fight of the night. We got Idris taking on Joseph Morales. This is the Ultimate Fighter flyweight finale. I'm going to be picking Idris. I do like his striking a little bit more. I didn't watch the Ultimate Fighter this season. I don't have the time to, honestly, but I did go back and watch some of these guys' fights. I do like Idris's striking ability. He's got more creativity. He's throwing, like the 6 to 12 elbows in the pocket. He's really creative on the feet. Does have a pretty solid ability to wrestle, and I think he should be able to outwork Joseph Morales, probably to a decision. I don't think he's going to finish him. Morales is pretty gritty. Does have a decent jab, but his striking creativity compared to Idris's does not compare, in my opinion. He's a pretty tough guy. I do think he should, be able to survive. Not that, Idris is going to walk through him or anything like that, but I just like the versatility from Idris. There isn't any odds available yet. Let me, I can refresh for you guys. No odds available yet, but I do imagine Idris will probably be around minus 180, somewhere around there. But I'm going to pick Idris to win, and he should be crowned the Ultimate Fighter flyweight champion, or winner, whatever you call it. And I do think there's a welterweight season finale that should be Tuesday, and then we'll figure out if they're going to be on this card as well. And then when that comes out, I'll break down that fight for you guys as well. But moving on, we got K.Silva taking on Dione Barbosa, which is a short notice replacement. Dione is a short notice replacement, but I think I'm going to pick her here. I think these ladies are pretty similar. K.Silva, though, she does have more experience. She is a killer, hence the nickname. 17 out of her 18 victories were all finishes. I believe the only decision she has was, Ariane Lipski da Silva. She is coming off a loss in her last fight against Viviane Araújo, who was ultimately able to outlast her and really had K.Silva looking, pretty normal. She was on her back, really looked really gassed out. Viviane Araújo, she's a solid grappler, does have power in her hands. She was getting beat up, first round and a half, I'll say, but K just ultimately fell apart. I don't think she's gonna fall apart in this fight. Dione Barbosa, I do really like her. I met her. I'm not just picking her because I met her, but I do like her striking, which is what I feel like that's her second best thing that she brings her to the table. A lot of people sleep on her jiu-jitsu, but she is a teacher out in Las Vegas. I can't remember the name of the school or anything like that, but I feel as though they're pretty even on the mat. On the feet, I might edge Silva. She might have a slight power advantage, but one thing I do like for Dione in this matchup, she does utilize judo as her way to get the takedowns, whereas K is just shooting normal wrestling type of takedowns. I think Dione could be more creative in the pocket with those judo tosses too, and it could create some pretty good scrambles. I definitely think we're going to see a lot of scrambles in this fight, and I don't think Dione is going to gas out either. I saw her at the UFC Atlanta event, and she looked like she was ready for a fight right then and there. She just had a fight probably 4 months ago. What are we in? June was 2 months ago. So yeah, she just fought 2 months prior to that. So she's probably, always ready. She looked like she was in great condition then. Pretty sure she's in great condition now. So I don't think her gas tank should be an issue here. I do think she can probably outwork K.Silva, probably, get her on the mat, have some control time, and probably edge a W. I do think it will be a split decision though. This is going to be a very competitive fight. I know, like I said, K does have more experience with the 18 wins compared to Dione's 8, but I do think Dione is pretty tricky on the feet and on the mat. So I think I'm going to go with Dione here. pretty big, opportunity for her to jump into the rankings as well. You look at the odds, minus 225 for Karine Silva, plus 190 for Dione. It should be expected. Karine was already on this card. She was supposed to fight. Let me get the exact matchup, but that fight fell through. I believe JJ Aldrich. Aldrich got hurt. I think Karine Silva was probably going to walk through JJ Aldrich, but I don't think she's going to be able to walk through Dione Barbosa. So I'm going to edge Dione Barbosa split decision here. With her jiu-jitsu creativity and the judo throws, and I don't think Karine gasses out, but I do think Dione being able to put on a fight for against her should be a little tougher in her similar to the matchup with Viviani. So give me Dione there. Next up, we got Nursultan Ruziboev taking on Bryan Battle up at middleweight, which is a red flag for me for Bryan Battle, who has not been able to cut weight correctly at 170 for a few fights now. Missed weight in the Randy Brown fight, missed weight in the Gabe Green fight, and I thought he missed weight in the Trayshawn Gore fight. But he came in, 4 pounds overweight against Randy Brown. His game plan was really just to smother him up against the cage, hold him there. Was unable to get any takedowns in that fight. And it really was it was a split decision where he really didn't do anything. Now he's moving up to 185. His gas tank isn't going to be an issue, but he's fighting a full-size middleweight with Nursultan Ruziboev, who's been fighting bigger fighters. I think he's more creative on the mat as well. He's super experienced. This dude's got over 40 fights. Does have power in that right hand. He knocked out Eric McConico with it. Last time out, he fought Dustin Stoltzfus. It was a little tricky for him early on. Dustin Stoltzfus does have, some decent ground game. Was unable to get the finish there. I did pick Nursultan and another fighter to get the finish in both of those fights, but he was unable to do it. Got the win over Dustin Stoltzfus, who is a pretty powerful middleweight as well. Was able to out grapple him. Excuse me. I'm so excited for these fights, man. Was able to out grapple him for a majority of the fight. But him taking on Bryan Battle, his kickboxing is okay. It was, he's really used to bullying smaller welterweights. Like he, was unable to officially make the weight a couple of times. Not that he's a super heavy welterweight or anything like that, but him not being able to tune in to the getting conditioned for the fight. If you don't know Bryan Battle, he used to be, I believe he was like 280 pounds, 300 pounds, something like that. Chopped all the way down to 170. Now he's blowing back up. It's a little bit of a red flag for me. I don't think his gas tank is going to be an issue, but I don't think he has the power or the the strength to hang with a Nursultan Ruziboev, who is an underdog in this fight. And I was kind of surprised, honestly, because Nursultan is pretty nasty, man. Like I said, the experience, he's got the power to knock you out at 185. He's got the knockout over McConico, who's a pretty stocky 185er. Got the knockout over Dumas. We could, Dumas is pretty trash. And then Bruno Ferreira, who's also a pretty stocky middleweight. I think he can knock out Bryan Battle. I don't think he will. That's not going to be my official pick, but I definitely think he's capable. Does have pretty intelligent striking, but he does rely on that right hand at times. But if he lands it, it could definitely be dangerous for Bryan Battle, who, he kickboxes in the pocket with his chin up a little bit. Could be, a recipe for disaster for Bryan Battle. So I am going to be picking Nursultan Ruziboev in this fight. I think he's better over, all around, and I think he's going to be really tricky for Bryan Battle. Nursultan plus 150, minus 175 for Bryan Battle. Opened up at plus 120, and I think a lot of people are picking Bryan Battle because of, the name value, but I'm picking Nursultan here. Let's get to the next fight. We got Edson Barbosa taking on Drakkar Klose. I was a little tossed on this fight until I realized, it was up at lightweight, which is really good for Edson. He was struggling down at featherweight, did have a couple wins, couple losses, couple moments where he looked like, he was definitely going to be out of it. 18-12 in the UFC. He's been around for a while, man. Edson is, 38? 36, 38, 39. But Drakkar Klose isn't, young by any sorts of the word. He's about 37 too. But I'm gonna pick Edson here, but I don't know, man. It's there's an opportunity for Drakkar to knock him out, and just with his pressure alone. So if we go through, his 45 run, yeah, the Dan Ige loss, very close fight. One against Americani, one against Shane Burgos with that delayed right hook. Giga knocked him out. And I believe that was a main event. Yeah, 2021 when Giga went on his tear, lost to Bryce Mitchell, who's got really good wrestling. Knockout over Billy Q. Sadiq Yusuf had him rocked early in that fight, and just Sadiq doesn't know how to put two different skill sets together, and that's how he ultimately lost. That fight just fell apart, after round two, I want to say, and then Lerone Murphy was just kickboxing him up, controlling him, big dog in him in the octagon. Drakkar Klose, man, he's solid. Don't get me wrong. He's a wrestler first. I could definitely see him, forcing the issue with the wrestling. He does have pretty slick, not slick, but pretty heavy hands as well. He is coming off this loss against Joel Alvarez though, where it was a nasty knockout 7 months ago. Whereas Edson really just took a beating a year and some change ago. Where I don't really like how he's not as active. This is really like a coin flip fight for me. I think Edson is the favorite here because it's up at lightweight. Him cutting down the featherweight really was deteriorating him. He should look better. His cardio should look better. He should be able to take better shots. But I wouldn't say you would be crazy to bet Drakkar Klose by a knockout here. I can see Drakkar making it really dirty, really nasty for Edson, smothering him up against the cage and just landing, big bombs on him. Because we have seen that, Sadiq Yusuf did it, dropped him. Who else did it? Lerone did it, dropped him as well. And, just was the better tactician that night. But Drakkar can definitely make this fight ugly. It's just, he can get sloppy. That chin is a little bit of a worry too. I don't know. Time and time again, we have seen Edson be able to, dig it out. And he's shown, the type of cloth that he's cut from. Does have a big reach advantage here. So it's just a matter of what happens when Drakkar closes the distance. Does he get clipped? Or does he, have success, smother Edson, and land some pretty big bombs? I don't know. I'm gonna slightly edge Edson. I'm not confident in this pick at all, but maybe we get a vintage Edson Barbosa performance Saturday night. Edson minus 170, plus 145 on Drakkar. Open up at plus 125. Yeah, I feel like this fight should be a little closer than what it is, along with a couple other fights on this card. But we move. I'm a slightly edge Edson. Next up, we got Alexander Hernandez versus Chase Hooper. I'm gonna be picking Chase Hooper. I think he should get a submission or a dominant. Maybe not dominant. I think Alexander could probably nab like a round, but I do think Chase Hooper gets a submission in this fight. His kickboxing has been coming together. He's starting to fill out his frame completely, starting to look, like a full size lightweight compared to, the Chase Hooper of before, where he was super thin, super skinny, and was really frail at a point in time. Got knocked out. I believe it wasn't Slava because he finished Slava. Steve Garcia put him out, yeah. I thought there was another fight he got knocked out, but nope, Steve Garcia. Pretty heavy hands too. But yeah, Chase is starting to come together. His kickboxing though, Alexander might be faster from the mid range. Chase isn't really that quick on the feet with his striking, but if he gets you down, good luck getting back up. He was on Jim Miller like white on rice in that fight. Was unable to get this finish because Jim Miller is so experienced. But if he has Alexander Hernandez in that type of situation, it's going to be tough for him. And Chase has the ability to control, where this fight is going to go. I don't think Alexander Hernandez is going to want to take Chase Hooper down because he knows how excellent his jiu-jitsu is. He's pretty, crafty with his jiu-jitsu of today. Alexander Hernandez, his striking, I've never really liked him. His striking is pretty mid. He was getting thudded up by Austin Hubbard in that split decision. I picked Austin Hubbard in that fight, Kurt, not Austin. Yeah, Kurt Hollabaugh was thudding him up late in that fight too. Kurt can't really defend takedowns, but Alex won't have the ability to take. Not that he won't have the ability, but it wouldn't be wise of him to take C.Hooper down, because I could definitely see Chase with those long arms slip under that neck or find a different submission and, getting Alexander Hernandez to tap. So I am going to pick C.Hooper to get a submission in this fight. Submission or decision, probably the only bet, but I'm pretty sure the line is going to be pretty crappy. Plus 275 for Hernandez, minus 335. I feel like this line has gotten wider because it has opened at minus 145, minus 140. Yeah, people are on that line. Trust me. Next fight, we got Jessica Andrade taking on Lupi. I got a shit Godinez. If you don't know, Lupi in her last fight against Julia Palastri, she was getting dog walked in that third round. I picked Julia Palastri, but yeah, she was getting dog walked in that third round because she had to take a shit. And if you've ever tried to take a shit and do anything else, try to take a shit or try to hold the shit and drive, and you'll see, exactly how bad it is. Now imagine trying to fight. So we could give her some slack, for that third round. But yeah, Lupi was getting beast up in that third round. Almost got finished. I don't even think she stayed to talk on the mic. I think she ran out because that's how bad it was. But I am gonna pick Lupi here. She's just too versatile for Jessica. Her boxing is too clean too. She does have an ability to rip Jessica with big shots, just like Jessica can. But Jessica relies on just the power and her physicality way too much. I could definitely see Jessica chasing Lupi, which we seen her do against Natalia Silva 11 months ago, where she was just getting picked apart the entire fight. Lupi doesn't move like Natalia Silva, but she could take. I feel as though Lupi could take Jessica down whenever she wants to. Her chin is pretty solid. I don't think she's gonna get caught by Jessica loading up a big shot or anything like that. I wouldn't be surprised if she gets a submission here either. Lupi she got 3 wins by submission. Her last submission was Elise Reed. She's got 2 losses recently to Verna, who's a tremendous grappler. Mackenzie Dern is a solid grappler too, but ultimately they both just made mistakes, and that's how Mackenzie ended up winning that fight. Doesn't have any knockout wins. It wouldn't be crazy if she wins by knockout, but I don't think she's knocking Andrade out. Andrade coming off of, win 2 months ago. Jasmine Jasovicius subbed her up. And then Natalia Silva 11 months ago picked her apart. Jessica again finished, 2 months ago. It just shows that she's really just eager to fight for the money. It doesn't really, I don't think she has, I can fight for a title again type of mindset, because I definitely don't think that's going to happen. She's already been to the top. She's fell far from where she used to be, and I just don't think her style has evolved to where fighters are today. Lupi, I think it's her time to make another run. These 2 losses set her back a little bit, but Julia Palastri, Jessica Andrade, and probably 2 more solid wins. I think she could not be a title winner, or not be a champion or anything like that, but the aspirations are definitely there. And I'm gonna favor the younger, younger fighter with less miles on the body and more creativity in this matchup. So give me Lupi to win, possibly, or I'll go Lupi decision. Plus 136, minus 156 for Lupi here. Over is probably minus. I could pull it up for you guys. We got some props, but I don't want to get too ahead of myself. Over 2.5, minus 325. Yeah, it's a pretty decent line for a ladies fight. Usually, over is like minus 500. Minus 325 is not too bad. Could be a parlay piece. But yeah, I'm going Lupi. Next fight up, we got GM3 versus Mikhail Oleksiejczuk. I'm gonna pick Mikhail by knockout, but I also want to pick GM3 by sub, because Mikhail Oleksiejczuk cannot wrestle. He cannot defend jiu-jitsu, submission attempts. We just saw Kevin Holland sub him up a year ago. Michel Pereira subbed him up. I think it was like a standing I think he was standing with that choke, if I remember correctly. But we've seen throughout Mikhail Oleksiejczuk's career, he cannot defend takedowns. He cannot, stop submission attempts. GM3, he has what? I think he has like 30 wins by sub, 29 wins. If he gets to 30, he breaks the record, I believe, for the UFC. And this is a hell of a matchup for him to do it. But Mikhail Oleksiejczuk, he is a pretty slick boxer on the feet. GM3's, striking isn't all that. We've seen him get crunched before. Hamzat crunched him a couple years ago. I believe that was Hamzat's second fight in the UFC. His chin, well, he's only been knocked out 4 times, but we definitely seen him, getting pieced up before. TKO to Joe Pyfer. Damn, so he fought Joe Pyfer and then he grappled with him and lost. Losing a grappling match to Joe Pyfer is kind of crazy. Wonder what the rules were there. Hamzat knocked him out back in COVID. Oleksiejczuk, I'm not. I wonder what the under is for this fight. That's probably what I would bet. GM3, man, and striking it's not his strong suit. Sub is probably the only. Well, yeah, a comeback submission is probably the only way that he wins, because I could definitely see Mikhail, crunching him early. Maybe he survives because the chin isn't that bad, as we make it seem. Maybe he survives and finds a submission late. His takedown entries can be a little telegraphed, and I can see Mikhail, sliding out the way and just ripping a counter shot. But he's been training with the fighting nerds as of lately, but I don't know how much that influence is going to change his grappling defense. It's only been a year, maybe. I think, yeah, after the Shaur Magomedov fight, I think that's when he started training with him, and we saw him knock out Cedric Dumas, who I've already said isn't, that good. And it really was not necessarily a questionable stoppage, but like nobody really cared because Dumas just was looking stupid, and I picked him there like a dummy. But yeah, big red flag for the submission. Oleksiejczuk has 6 losses by sub, so this is a fight I would either, I'm either betting on GM3 sub or I'm in GM3 sub, or I'm avoiding the fight completely. Maybe the under is something I would touch, but even that is like plus 175 for GM3, minus 205 for Mikhail. Over 1.5, minus 127. Fight goes the distance is plus money, so yeah, it's either a knockout or a sub, honestly. Next fight. This was a tough one. King Green versus Diego Ferreira. Both of these guys pretty old, right? King Green is what, 38, about to be 39. Diego is 40. But I think I'm going to go with Diego. A little bit of caution as well, though. Diego just looks to be, it's easy to say he's less washed, but if you look at the competition, King Green has been fighting, man. He's fighting contenders, you know what I'm saying? Lost to Mauricio Rufy, who's about to fight BSD for UFC Paris, and that was just a picture-perfect spin and heel kick. Then he fought Paddy Pimblett, who put him in a triangle, and that was nasty. He fought Jim Miller, looked really good against a slower, older opponent, but then he fought Jalen Turner, who, I thought Jalen Turner was going to make a run. He ended up, retiring, but he got finished badly by Jalen Turner. And then the knockout over Grant Dawson, where Diego Ferreira is coming off a loss against Grant Dawson. But I can't really, rate that because this was a little fluky knockout too. But I'm going to pick Diego. I really like this knockout over Rebecca, damn near a year ago. Michael Johnson knockout. I feel as though he could catch Green similar to how he caught Michael Johnson. Michael Johnson relies on his hand speed. He caught, Michael with his hands down. King Green fights with his hands at his damn kneecaps. It's just a recipe for disaster. I don't think it works today, you know what I'm saying? But he's not fighting, a top 10 lightweight. This is a good matchup for him. I do favor his hand speed. He does have pretty slick counters, but I don't know, man. That chin, what does that chin look like? Diego does have some pretty big bombs, too. I could definitely see him, cracking them. He's got a pretty stiff jab. One thing Diego would need to improve on is the leg kicks, because if he can use the leg kicks to, immobilize King Green in this fight, it'll shut down a lot of those counters. But we saw, uh, so I want to keep calling him Bobby, but we saw Green, getting chopped at the legs by Patty, which set up, the finish for him, because he definitely didn't want to stay on the feet with Patty after those few leg kicks that he took. So maybe Diego incorporates that into this fight, and I could see him edging a win. Maybe it's just a decision win. Maybe King Green's chin isn't as washed as we thought it was. Maybe he's able to see the punches coming from Diego, and maybe his counters, look as good as they were against Jim Miller. But I don't know, man. It's just a lot of caution on both guys, Bobby Green plus 129, minus 149 for Carlos Fiera. Over 1.5, minus 210. I do think we go over 1.5. I think Diego probably nabs the decision, but I wouldn't be surprised if King Green, puts more out there. He's able to, eat a shot, and just the activity alone wins him the fight. So really a lot of caution on that fight too. Let's get to the main card. If you haven't already, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. We got Tim Elliott versus Kai Asakura. I am picking Kai Asakura, and one of the big things that really stood out to me for this fight is Tim Elliott has a really bad vulnerability to knees. We saw Kai Asakura in his debut against Alexander Pantoja. Yes, he got subbed up second round, flat out unconscious, but we saw how creative he could be in the striking. He threw a flying knee at Pantoja, damn near caught him. Tim Elliott, the way he strikes, his head is out again, before his knees. He's reaching for a lot of his punches. He's real weird on the feet, but I could definitely see Kai, timing one of those herky-jerky moves, and boom, comes the knee right up the middle. He's super explosive. He's still young, 31, about to be 32. Slight reach advantage. He's definitely gonna be, faster on the feet. If he's able to avoid, the takedowns from Tim Elliott, it's gonna be real nasty for him on the feet. Elliott, he's a little, it can look tricky, but it can also look sloppy at the same time. I do think he'll be outmatched on the feet, chasing a lot of takedowns. Kai Asakura is pretty fast. I was one of the things I liked, in his matchup against Pantoja. His speed, definitely, I guess carried from Japan, whatever you want to say. But yeah, younger, more athletic, explosive striker with the knockout power. He lost to Pantoja. Tim Elliott is nowhere near the grappler that Pantoja is, and Pantoja is just relentless, man. He's gonna walk through whatever you throw at him. I think Tim Elliott might find himself, curled up in a ball here after taking a big knee down the middle. So give me Kai Asakura to find a knockout. Minus 300, plus 240 for Tim Elliott. Yeah, knockout. Next fight, we got Jared Cannonier versus MVP. I'm going to pick MVP. I'm not really a fan of his. I've never been a fan of him since Bellator. But, it's hard to deny the speed and the way that he's able to fight and force these guys into, the snake charm. The way he's able to blitz and get out of dodge that quick at 38 years old is super impressive, man. Win against pretty nasty kickboxer in Shara Magomedov. Had Shara, really chasing him. Lost to Ian Machado Gary, but Ian Gary has one thing that Jared Cannonier doesn't have, and that's the foot speed. And he was able to take MVP down momentarily, for a couple spurts. Win against Kevin Holland, where he was just blitzing the hell out of him. And then, the Yamachi fight 2 years ago back in Bellator. Jared Cannonier does have the power. He is coming off of this win against Gregory Rodriguez, but if you go back to that fight, he was damn near out of it in the very first round. First 2 rounds, I think he was getting rocked. Right before that, he lost to Kyle Ohio, who is a very tricky guy. He's pretty good everywhere. And then the loss, to Imavov, where he got knocked out. Standing knockout, questionable stoppage by Jason Herzog, but Can Cannonier wrestle MVP for 3 rounds? I don't think so. He's gonna need to chase and force the entrances, and when you force an entrance against MVP, he can close that distance with lightning speed, pop off a jab, pop off the two, and get right back out of dodge and force you to chase him again. His speed is just too much for Jared Cannonier in this matchup. I think. I don't think he's gonna be fast enough, in the striking or closing the distance. I don't think he's gonna be able to cut off the ring or the octagon well. MVP's just, his speed is just way too much here. So I'm gonna pick MVP by decision. I think he's gonna, outpoint kickbox Jared Cannonier. And maybe we see Cannonier smother him up against the cage, maybe, late in the fight, but he's gonna need to shut his lights off because he'll probably be down 2 rounds. So give me MVP 29-28 here. I think it's a unanimous decision. Minus 185, plus 160. And over, yeah, minus 275. Definitely think we're going over. Next fight up, the featured fight of the night. We got Jeff Neal versus Carlos Prates making his return. This is also a fight that was formally booked, I believe, for what number card was it? I think it was 317, 316, one of those. It wasn't too long ago. But I'm picking Carlos the Nightmare Prates by knockout. Jeff Neal, yes, he's a pretty slick boxer. Does have solid speed when he closes the distance, but he does sit in that pocket for too long and throws, the similar too frequent use of the same combinations. I'm figuring out another way to say it. Does chase at times. Does have trouble staying mobile after getting chopped in the legs, which Carlos Prates, we know he's pretty good at ripping the legs. Jeff Neal does have some decent wrestling, but I don't think he's going to be able to take Carlos Prates down. We saw Prates be able to defend a lot of Ian Machado Gary's takedown attempts, and I was super impressed with that because a lot of people thought, Gary's just going to wrestle him up, but Gary really just out kickboxed him. The speed was too much, but Jeff Neal doesn't have that speed that Ian Gary had. Carlos Prates, the one weapon that will definitely be on display here is that knee up the body. If you go back to the Charles Radke fight, what was that? A year ago. Look how he cut off the cage and he can close distance with the knee. That's how crazy this dude is. He can close distance, from long range up to the knee down the middle within, a second. That's going to be huge here against Jeff Neal, where we saw Shavkat be able to do that too. Shavkat striking, I would say, is Shavkat striking against Carlos. I think Carlos would probably be more technical in the striking. He is definitely doesn't have as much output, but I feel as though Carlos probably hits a lot harder. He's so dense in the bones that when it just connects, it's just right on you. You know what I'm saying? He is a super sniper. He can drop anybody at 170. He's definitely going to be, giving Jeff Neal a lot of troubles. His impressive takedown defense, which I said held up in that, the Ian Gary fight. The combos, that two down the middle and the knee are going to be the two weapons that Jeff Neal are not going to be prepared for. Jeff Neal's going to, I like the way he moves. He's real, dancing and gliding back and forth. But Carlos is going to be able to time that. Watch the inside low kicks too, because I feel as though Jeff has a vulnerability to that as well. The inside low kick, the knee down the middle, and the jab is going to set up everything. So give me Carlos Prates to find a knockout. I think within 2 rounds. I don't think we're seeing the 3rd round here, and get the star power back in favor of Carlos Prates, who is the slightly younger fighter, about 3 years between them. Big reach advantage, 3 inches. I definitely think Carlos Prates finds the knockout here. Maybe even in the first round. Minus 255 for Carlos Prates, plus 215 for Jeff Neal. Over 2.5 is plus money, under is minus 155. Definitely think we're going under. Think we're getting a finish within, a round and a half. So give me the Nightmare Carlos Prates. Co-main event. I've been circling this fight since it was announced. Lerone Murphy versus Aaron Pico. I wrote down who I think's gonna win them. I don't need to pull it up because I know, but I just want to make sure I'm about to say what I'm about to say. I'm gonna pick. I'm gonna pick Aaron Pico. I'm gonna pick Aaron Pico. Now this is the first time I'm gonna pick a guy debuting in this high of a spot from Bellator. I didn't pick Patchy Mix. I didn't pick. Well, I did. I picked Flip to Pitbull in his debut against Yair, and I looked like a damn fool because I had Yair. I said the speed was gonna be too much, but I think I'm gonna be on the right side of history this time around. Third time's the charm. I think Aaron Pico is the nastier striker. I know how technical and tactical Lerone Murphy is. This is a short notice fight for him. Aaron Pico was already supposed to be on the card. He was going to be fighting Movzar, who his striking is okay, but his wrestling is definitely what Pico was definitely preparing for. Now he doesn't have to strike. His boxing is nasty. I definitely rate his boxing in the red zone a lot better than Lerone Murphy, but Lerone Murphy can, keep the fight at range. He is 16-0-1. I know he's gonna be hungry to, defend his zero, and he's fighting for a title shot. This is just a big fight for both of these guys. Aaron Pico, I don't think he's gonna look as bad as Patchy looked. I don't think his striking is anywhere near Patchy's. I feel as though Patchy, I said it, when the fight came out, Patchy's striking is not that good, and he didn't have the ability to take Mario Batista down. I do think Aaron Pico can take Lerone Murphy down. Does he control him? I don't know. Murphy, we have seen in, some really compromised positions. You go back to the Josh Emmett fight, he did get clipped in that against a slower striker. And, he was able to be on the bicycle. He got criticized for that fight. He was on the bicycle for a lot of the time, but he did what he needed to do. Dan Ige clipped him with a big shot. The only issue I have in those two fights with Dan Ige and Josh Emmett is they did not follow up with, the kill. I feel as though if Aaron Pico gets Lerone Murphy hurt like that, he's smelling blood and he knows how big of a finish that would be for not only him, but for the division. I think he's going to do it, man. I don't think he's going to knock him out, but I definitely think it's going to be a real close fight. I do think Aaron Pico rocks Lerone Murphy one point in time. I do think Lerone Murphy catches Aaron Pico with a big shot because he does, he is willing to trade and take one to give one, which can be a downside of his, but I think Aaron is going to land with meaner intentions than Lerone. I feel as though Lerone's going to catch him, but it'll be like, hey, stay back. Whereas Aaron is coming with full force to take Lerone's head off. I could see him ripping to the body too, setting up the overhand. This is a real fight. I wish I didn't have to pick on this one, but I'm gonna lean Aaron Pico. I think he's the nastier boxer. I feel as though his wrestling could definitely cause Lerone Murphy a lot of trouble. He was preparing to wrestle a lot. So look for Aaron Pico to be shooting a lot, not a lot of takedowns, but I do think he threatens them more than Lerone Murphy. Lerone is very smart, intelligent, tactical though. I could definitely see him, timing a knee. He did catch a knockout win over, I forgot who it was, but it was with a knee down the middle when they were shooting a takedown. Um, Lerone, he gets a lot of flack, but he does have 7 finishes. Few of them in the UFC. Americani, Ricardo Ramos, and yeah, that was it. Okay, so yeah, and then you had that draw with I can't say that Tukagov. He gets a lot of flack, man. But the dude is nasty. But I think Aaron Pico is going to be a little bit nastier, and I do think he can clip Lerone Murphy. I think it's going to be a split decision. I think the scorecards are going to be all over the place if we make it to the distance. But like I said, I think Aaron Pico is just a little too nasty. I feel as though if you don't want to pick a fighter here, I think over 1.5 is, the bet to make. Minus 190 for Aaron Pico. He's swelling, man. Damn. I know what did he, coin flip. Minus 190 for Pico. It's hard to pick Pico at minus 190. Lerone plus 165. I just don't see Aaron Pico making the fight similar to how Patchy versus Mario Batista way. I just don't see that happening. I think Pico is just gonna be a little nastier, man. I just can't believe. This is a tough fight. Over 2.5 minus 210, under plus 170. I think we go over. I think we go over. That's a tough call. I'm gonna slightly lean Aaron Pico. I do think he makes the most of his debut when it's splashing in UFC, and we get some new blood. And Lerone Murphy gets his O has got to go. It's gonna go sooner or later. I don't think he was gonna retire undefeated. And like I said, the moments where I've seen him get clipped, he does have a good recover ability to him, but I think Pico, when he smells a finish, he's going for it. Yes, I know he hasn't, fought a UFC level competition whatsoever, but I feel as though some of these guys, if you give them the opportunity, they're gonna, do what they need to do. Look at Kayla Harrison. Look at Kayla Harrison. Sorry, my phone just fell. Yes, I know Kayla Harrison is a lady, and the female division isn't nowhere near as dangerous as this is, but I think Aaron Pico could do it, man. So give me Aaron Pico to make the most of his debut, and we finally get a Bellator guy that can, withstand the UFC. Sorry, I just had a brain. My brain just went dead because of the main event. But yeah, I think Aaron Pico can make the most of his debut. Main event of the evening. If you haven't already, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. Dricus du Plessis taking on Khamzat Chimaev. This fight has so much behind it because Dricus has talked about moving up to 205. He wants to clear out the division first. Khamzat, if he becomes champion, who the hell could beat him? 14-0. He's in his prime. He's never looked better. But I'm picking DDP. I'm going with DDP. Man. I'm going with DDP to win. How does he do it? Now, you're not going to find another breakdown that says anything other than what I'm about to say, which is going to be DDP survives the first 2 rounds. He can win late. That's the entire story for this fight. Now, I know it can be a red flag if you're talking about survival for a guy to win the fight. But if there's one fighter on the UFC roster that is the epitome of survival, it's got to be DDP. He was in bad positions against not Derek Brunson, Darren Till, found a finish in that fight. Finished Robert Whittaker, Sean Strickland, very close fight. Wasn't really in trouble. Izzy was working him from striking, found the submission, and then beat Sean Strickland's ass. One thing that I like that DDP has said that none of Khamzat's opponents have ever said is, yes, I know he's going to take me down, but what happens when I get back up? Nobody that Khamzat has fought has said that. It's always been, I cannot let him take him down. Robert Whittaker, I cannot let him take him down. And Robert Whittaker cannot defend against, high-level grapplers. We've seen him. He just lost to RDR. He just lost to Khamzat. And then DDP didn't really need the wrestling, but he was able to take Robert Whittaker down too. I feel as though this fight is nullified for both of them. They both finished Robert. Granted, one was earlier than the other, but they both finished the job. So we can nullify that fight. Kamaru Usman fight. Short notice Usman, who was able to defend the takedowns. And the 3rd round, it was a brawl. And that was Khamzat at 185, because that was a 185 fight. And his conditioning looked a little questionable. I know he's working with him and Pico were training together for this fight, and he's working with a really good conditioning coach. I think Khamzat is only made for big explosions. You know what I'm saying? DDP has that style where he can ride the waves. I don't know if Khamzat can do it yet. I haven't seen him successfully do it. The Usman fight, like I just said, Kevin Holland, he got him out of there first round. He like I said, an explosion. Robert Whittaker, explosion. Gilbert took him to deep waters, got clipped, got dropped. Yes, it was down at 170, so we can wipe it off. Whatever. What else? And then he made his debut. not against Li Jingliang, but that was another explosion. First round finish. His debut was against John Phillips. Yes, explosion. Round one. Rhys McKee. Round one. Explosion. GM3. Right cross. Didn't even take a shot. Explosion. But when he's riding these waves, he's struggling. Yes, he's undefeated. This Gilbert Burns fight, it was closer than a unanimous decision. Watching that live, I thought Gilbert might have pulled it off. But, Khamzat striking looked okay in that fight. Kamaru fight, it didn't look as if it got any better. But this is a new Khamzat Chimaev. He's a father now. He's talking about being more calm. I need to see the press conference. I need to see exactly how calm he is. Because if we get in, I kill everybody, Khamzat. I don't know, man. I think Dricus could do it. Dricus du Plessis. Let's give you, a slight little breakdown on him. His willingness to get taken down, like he's already talked about, and get back to defeat is going to be the biggest factor in this fight. I feel as though, as weird and chaotic as DDP striking is, I feel as though he's the better striker. He's a full-size middleweight with that awkward blitz. I definitely think he can force Khamzat back, on his back foot. What happens when Khamzat isn't allowed to be the pace dictator? A lot of the guys, when Khamzat shoots the takedown, if he doesn't get them down, they give him a little bit of space. I don't think DDP is gonna give him that space. He's gonna defend the takedown, sprawl, get back to the feet, and he's gonna be right on him. I don't know what Khamzat looks like in those situations, and I think DDP can put him in those situations. This is a really interesting fight for this division because we got a lot of contenders coming up that can present the same issue for DDP. We got Anthony Hernandez, we got RDR, so Kyle is pretty good. Maybe not with the wrestling, but the grappling definitely. Imavov is pretty solid with his striking too. His grappling is starting to look better and better. I think DDP could be awkward and shoot his own takedowns too. We've never seen Khamzat taken down. What happens when he's taken down, and on his back? He's probably going to be nasty. But, we saw him in full guard. Well, he avoided full guard with Gilbert because he saw his jiu-jitsu. DDP isn't, the jiu-jitsu ace or nothing like that. But he just creates so much chaos that you could just find yourself in something and not know what to do. I think DDP has a better gas tank with the new nose, too. I think he can stuff the takedowns and, force the mat returns without a delay. I think he's going to be able to get back to his feet and, give Khamzat a hell of a fight. So it's either going to be Khamzat in 2 rounds or DDP decision or late knockout. So that's really the breakdown that you're going to find everywhere. I know a lot of people are picking Khamzat. The line shows it -220 plus 185. Opened plus 170-ish, plus 145. Khamzat opened at what? -150, -200, somewhere around there. What's the over? Over a round and a half, -185. Over 2.5 rounds, -105. So yeah, it's either a first or second round finish for Khamzat. If it goes past round 2, it's gonna get a little murky. And I think DDP is a guy that could bring him into round 3, into round 4, and then we're really gonna see what that gas tank, not the gas tank, but the the will from Khamzat late in this fight, if we make it there, can look like. I know it's a lot of ifs on DDP, but this is the kind of guy that he's been able to prove me wrong and wrong and wrong and wrong again and again. I picked Izzy against him. Izzy was looking real good. He ultimately fumbled. Didn't pick Sean Strickland in either one of these fights. Didn't pick Robert Whitaker, but I didn't think he would knock out Robert Whitaker. I thought Robert, his speed on the feet would give him a lot of trouble, but this is a big 185er. Khamzat hasn't fought a real 185er, in his entire career. Who's the biggest 185er he fought? GM3? Come on, man. Robert Whitaker is a former welterweight. Kamaru Usman, welterweight. Kevin Holland, welterweight. Gilbert Burns, welterweight. Li Jingliang, welterweight. Gerald Meerschaert, middleweight, okay. Rhys McKee, welterweight. John Phillips, welterweight. Khamzat's strong as hell, man. I'm not going to, front him on that, but does he do it to DDP? I'm going to say no. It's going to be 2 rounds of hell, but I think DDP can survive the storm. I think DDP could do it. So give me Dricus du Plessis and Still to remain the champion. And that is what I got for the full card predictions. Let me know what you guys think. I was super excited breaking this full card down. Sunday night, I got right into it. I got these out, to my people first thing this morning, as soon as I finished it up, and as soon as I had the time to record this video, I was on it. I'm really excited for this card. We just had the UFC announce that they're moving to Paramount Plus, so 2026 we don't have any more pay-per-views. Really excited to see what that's gonna look like. I'm willing to spend the money for good cards, and this is a hell of a card. On paper, I'm giving it like an 8.5 out of 10 because I'm really excited for a lot of these fights. So let me know in the comments what you guys think about UFC 319. If you got du Plessis, if you got Chimaev, if you got Pico, if you got Murphy, let me know what your picks are. I'm super excited to hear from you guys. I'm even gonna drop my my prediction for the main event on TikTok. That's how enthusiastic and excited I am for this fight. But let me know what you guys think. Drop a like. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share. Drop it in your group chats. Talk about it with your friends. Whatever you got to do. But thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you later this week for more videos. Peace out.